590A1. It's clear. You use safety nuts out there. I noticed there's not many videos out there that actually have a really detailed review of this weapon. I put about, today, I'd say I'm at almost 1,000 rounds with this particular weapon. So I have a little bit of familiarity as to what this thing can do. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to pen onto another screen, and I'm going to give you different points in the video you can shoot to the areas you're more interested in this weapon. I'm going to go over why I chose this weapon. I'm going to go over how this weapon actually operates. I'm going to go into how to break it down and clean it. So let's get into it. Well, I have a 930. I love it a lot, and I shot my friend's partner pump, and it felt really nostalgic to actually shoot a pump shotgun. It felt cool. So although the semi-automatic is obviously faster, especially for a novice, I really felt like I had pretty good control of the pump as well. So, and I was looking for something that's going to be strictly for home defense, and I wanted something my fiance can handle. So she's about 5'3", 125 pounds, and I had her try shooting the 930, and we were running into a couple of problems. One problem was the length of pull. For the 930 platform, the length of pull is around 13 3/4 to 14 inch length of pull, a little bit too long for her. There's no accessories out there right now for the 930 platform to reduce the size because of the spring tube that's located in the 930 stock. People are working on it, but there's nothing solid out in the market yet. The other problem we're having was because the 930 was magazine was extended to 7 rounds. The magazine extends to the end of the barrel. Well, if you notice, when she was holding it, when it was a full capacity of the magazine, a lot of the weight is towards the end of the barrel, which was causing the barrel to dip a little bit because she wasn't strong enough to hold it up. So I was looking for a platform that was, one, really reliable, and everyone can say that pump shotguns are one of the most reliable weapons out there for home defense. Two, had a limited capacity in the magazine, only to keep the weight down a little bit. Will keep the weight within her hands, so it's a lot easier to maintain the weight and to maneuver the weapon properly. And the other thing was something that could be easily accessorized. So 590A1 seemed to fit the bill. The reason why I went with the A1 is I wanted something with a little bit more durability. The only difference between the 590 series and the 590A1 is 590A1 has a thicker barrel, so it can take a little bit more abuse. It has a metal trigger guard, and it has a metal safety. That's pretty much the differences between the 590s and the 590A1s. I paid around $400 for this, so it didn't really break the bank for the most part. Alright, let's talk about some of the changes I made to this particular shotgun in order to make it easier for my fiance to shoot. One thing that I did is I changed buttstock. The standard buttstock was about 14 inch length of pull, which is basically any shotgun you get, it's going to be probably around 14 inches length of pull. So I was able to get a Hogue stock and at 12 inch length of pull, which fits very well. It even fits me very well, which makes me waiting for the 930 to come out with something that can decrease the buttstock on that too. I feel that the 12 inch length of pull is really good for me too. I can handle the 14 inch, but I'm probably more in the 12 and a half, 13 inch length of pull myself. The other thing is we noticed, well I noticed because I was trying to get very familiar with this before I started taking her out, was that the forend for the 590 was very ribbed, so it's the tactical forend, and it was tearing up my hands a little bit. So what I did was I got the Hogue forend, and that seemed to work out really well. It's easy to grip, and it's not tearing up my hands as the original stock did. Final thing that I did was I have a 3-gun gear Velcro side saddle to go on here. Again, we would think about where is the weight going to be on the weapon when she picks this up in a home defense situation, and because it's here, it's well within her strength, where her hands are, to keep the weapon up, and she's able to handle the weapon and maintain the weight where it is, as opposed to the distal end by the barrel, and that was causing a lot of strain in the deltoids. So this is the Velcro, comes out, it's really easy. Stays on pretty well. I notice if I keep this loaded up and I shoot a lot of rounds down the range, this does tend to move around a little bit. It is Velcro, so it is what it is. The way we have it configured here is 3 slugs on top, low recoil, and 4 double buck on the bottom. This is again for reloads, either for a manual reload into the chamber or reloads into the magazine. Chances are, in a home defense situation, and I'll keep a link in the video, I guess, in the info area. I was reading up a lot about home defense situations. Obviously, I've never had one. I never had to fire a weapon, which is a good thing. I'd rather have it, never use it, than need it and not have it. That's my type of philosophy. However, the amounts of shots in a home defense situation, the average out to be 2 shots. So having 5 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber seems to be more than enough to stop most threats out there. So, but if it does turn into something that was going to be a little more extended, we have something that's always going to be with the weapon, because in the middle of the night you're not going to be strapping on a bandolier, you're not going to put it on like any belts or anything like that. You're probably going to grab the weapon and you're going to go to the source of the problem. Having everything on your weapon is going to be very, very beneficial because it's less thinking. I know if I'm going into a home defense situation, everything I need is going to be on the weapon, and it's less thought. Less thought means more reaction time you have. So that's basically all I have with this. Let's get on to some of the problems that I had with this. Alright, so I did have a pretty significant problem with this particular weapon, and it's probably because the quality control with Mossberg tends to be a little on the crappy side. Hey, you get what you pay for the most part. Yes, Mossberg shotguns are, for the most part, really, really, really good for what you pay for. The best bang for your buck for the most part. However, you may come into some problems, and in my opinion, it's probably easier to figure out what the problem is and fix it yourself than send it over to Mossberg, because Mossberg's wait time is anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks. So you could be without your, if you have only one weapon and that's your primary weapon, the primary weapon is now left the house between 3 and 6 weeks before you get the weapon back either fixed or anything like that. So, alright, what was the problem? The problem was that the shell stopper, the cartridge stopper within the action, somehow was either bent too far in, and the slide, which is this 4-inch slide, was going behind the cartridge stopper, and that caused a really weird, very weird wear. I'm going to fade in now to some pictures of the actual cartridge stopper you can see right now. Now, as you can see, it looks pretty worn down, and that was only after around 300 rounds. And then I also noticed that the slide itself, where it was meeting the cartridge stopper, was getting really worn down too, like really worn down. I'm going to now fade into some pictures of that as well. As you can see, that wear is pretty significant. Now what that did is it caused the rounds in the magazine not to eject into the carrier and then thereby easily fed into the chamber. I would have a lot of times where I'd put 5 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, fire off 1, boom, and then go to rack another one, fire, and hear a click. I do a function check. There was nothing in the chamber, and it's still sitting there. And check again, it's still not coming out. Slamming, 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 and then really jamming it into there. And then finally, it would pop out and then go in. So that seemed to be a significant problem that I was having, and then causing a reliability issue, which is something you really shouldn't have with a pump shotgun. So I disassembled the weapon. I was able to check it out and see what the hell was going on. It caused me to really figure out exactly how this weapon functions, and I was able to determine the problem. What I did was I took a file, I was able to file down on the slide to correct the problem, and then bend the cartridge stopper to the point where it was supposed to work together. It was a quick fix. It worked. It took a few times at the range to bend it and pop it out and bend it again, and finally got it to where the rounds, when I fired the weapon, because when you fire the weapon you're going to get a significant recoil, that the round stayed, the cartridge stopper would keep the rounds in there, and then when I would cycle the weapon, it would actually go into the chamber. So I called up Havlin Sales, which I'll put a link also in the information section, and they had plenty of parts for the 590, so I was able to get a new slide for, I think it was 40 bucks, and a new cartridge stopper, which was like another 8 bucks. So for 50 bucks, I ordered it on like a Monday, I got it on like a Thursday. I mean, bam, switched it out, everything worked, everything's functioned perfectly now, so that's where we stand now. Now let's talk about how this weapon actually operates. Maybe we'll get some close-ups. Let's talk about how this weapon actually operates. What it is you're manually cycling the rounds out from the magazine on the bottom into the action and the carrier system, which brings it into the chamber, all with a pumping action. So what you're actually doing is you're firing the weapon, okay? You're going to bring the forend back, and what that does is it's going to, the slide and the rods in here are actually going to push the shell stopper out of the way, and then it's going to engage the cartridge interrupter to stop the next round from both feeding in at the same time. So now what it is the round's going to come out and it's going to land in the carrier, and then it's going to, when you pump it forward, force it into the chamber and allow you to fire. Now, if you notice, once it places the round into the chamber, the forend and action system locks up. And the only way to disengage the lock is either to fire the weapon, okay, shoots off the round, and the action can move, or there is an action release lever on the bottom. What that does is if you press it, it allows you to manually open and close it just in case there's a malfunction somewhere, and it allows you to manually clear the weapon. Alright? That's basically how it works. So let's look at that in a little more detail, shall we? Alright. Let's see how this thing actually really works up close and personal, because I had to figure this thing out when it was kind of screwed up. And these are dummy rounds, which I use to help figure things out in the house, and there's no live rounds, so no one's going to get hurt. Alright? So first, you take the round, and in the bottom here, it's nice and open. Some shotguns actually have the carrier system already here, so when you put it in, you actually have to press the carrier system out of the way, and then you can feed it in. With the Mossberg 590 series and 590A1s, that's not a problem. It goes right in. Now if you can see, I'll just put in a few in here. Let's see here. Let me get a closer look. Right here, that is the cartridge stopper, and it's stopping the round from coming out from the magazine as the weapon is in a firing position. In here, on this side, is the cartridge interrupter. Now when you cycle the shotgun, the slide here is going to come in contact with the cartridge stop, and it's going to push it out of the way and allow the round to shoot out, because this is a big long spring in here, into the carrier. Now the problem that you would run into if you didn't have the cartridge interrupter here would be that the rounds behind it would also fly out at the same time, causing a jam. What the cartridge interrupter does is when the slide comes in, it's going to stop the next round from coming out. So let's show you. So it's just coming in, slides into come in, engage. Now it engages, and you see the round is now in the carrier system. Just one round, and the cartridge interrupter has now stopped the second round from coming out at the same time as well. And we slide it forward. Now that's in, and it's ready to be fired. Now you notice that the forend and the action is now locked in the weapon. That little lever which comes behind here will allow you to depress. You depress that lever, and now allows you to manually cycle the gun. Now the bolt has dual extractors on here which grab the round from the chamber. Once it fires, it grabs the round from the chamber. Once it reaches all the way to the end, it ejects it. New round comes in, out, ejects it, all done. Now the difference between the 590s and the 590A1s, primarily, it's the barrel. The barrel is thicker and more heavy duty, therefore it adds a little bit more weight to the overall weapon. The trigger guard is actually metal as opposed to like a polyplastic or anything like that. And the safety of the weapon is metal as well, whereas it's plastic on the 590s. Now all Mossberg shotguns have the safety on the top, which is the ambidextrous safety. Forward, and you see the little red means fire. Backwards means save. Not going to engage. And all the Mossbergs have the action release lever right in the back of the trigger guard, which seems to be makes the most sense. So instead of reaching forward, a lot of them have the safety, the action release up in the front, so you'd have to reach forward and touch it. And a lot of shotguns actually have a safety in the trigger guard, which is kind of difficult to do while you're moving around and trying to do something in the middle of the night or under high stress. It might be difficult. Obviously, it's not a huge problem, but this seems to be a lot more ergonomic, which is right here, right where everything is supposed to be. Now, the difference between the 590 series and the 500 series of the Mossbergs, from what I can gather, aside from the thicker barrel from the 590A1, just go with the 590s have probably the same stock barrel as the 500s, but it looks like the major difference is how the barrels actually connect. So in the 590s and the 590A1 series, the magazine is actually, you can gain access to the magazine. If you take a little flathead screwdriver and you can pop that out, and this screws on the outside to lock in the barrel. Whereas in the 500 series that I've noticed, you cannot get access to the magazine spring from the front, the barrel end. You'd actually have to unscrew the whole thing at the bottom and get to it. Plus, the end cap tends to screw in the middle and lock everything in. That's what I could gather from the 500 series of shotguns. My friends have a 500 series shotgun. Couldn't grab it for this video. That seems to be the major difference between the 590s and the 500s. Also, for the 590A1 series, you can actually exchange the barrels with the 835s with the 590A1s only if you have the 5-round capacity magazines, because it's the shorter magazine. The extended barrel magazines have the barrels are set up a little bit differently, and it wouldn't be an easy swap with the 835. So if you wanted something that was home defense and for hunting, for chokes and everything like that, you'd need the 5-round capacity magazine, 590A1 and the to actually go with the 835s barrels, so you can actually have something with a choke tube. All 590A1s have a cylinder bore barrel. There's no choke, so it is what it is. This is the 18.5-inch barrel and the 5-round capacity with the bead sight. There are several other options you can get for the 590 series and the 590A1s. I chose the most no frills you can get because this is primarily going to be a home defense weapon, and I needed something with a short barrel legally within New York State and something that basically can do the job. Ghost ring sights I have on the 930, they work great, but I find to be very, very quick target acquisition with the bead, because in a home defense situation, the farthest they're going to be in my dwelling is going to be 10 yards. So I can plug anything with a bead sight within 10 yards. In fact, and I'll fade in to maybe some pictures from the range today, with slugs at 50 yards, I'm hitting bullseyes with this. So this thing is a really, really capable weapon. 50 yards, I can nail bullseyes. All right. Let's get into how we clean this weapon. It is dirty. It's probably at the around 600 round mark, so it's due for a detailed cleaning. So let's do that. Alright, so here is the really, really basic way to clean your Mossberg shotgun, or any pump action shotgun for that matter. If you're going to the range, I usually do between 100 and 200 rounds every time I go out to the range. Mostly birdshot because it's the cheapest thing. You can get a 100 round pack between 23 and 25 bucks. So you would open the action, you would obviously make sure it's clear, make sure there's no rounds in there. You get yourself some CLP, which is break free, which means clean, lubricate, and protect and preserve. Open it up, put in that little hose, and you would actually squeeze a few squirts inside the action, which I'm not going to do because I'm actually going to do a detail clean for you guys in this video. Run it through a few times. And then take a rag, usually a crappy t-shirt you're not going to use anymore. Get inside the action and then wipe it out, do the best you can. Cycle it some more, get in there. They should just clean all the gunk out. Make sure you also pay attention to the action slide bars. Nobody really talks about that. Those are in constant interaction with the cartridge stop and the cartridge interrupter, which get dirty, so they'll transfer the dirt on the outside as well. Especially when you squirt this stuff in there, you're going to have some lubrication on here, which also can have some dirt. So make sure you get on there as well. And wipe down the weapon, and everything will be fine. That's a basic routine cleaning. You can get yourself a bore snake, slide it through here, and come out and just kind of just wipe out the barrel per se. But when I really clean the barrel, I really clean the barrel. So let's go into a detailed field strip of this and clean it, and then we'll do a detailed put it back together and reassemble the weapon. Okay, let's disassemble this weapon so we can now clean it. You want to start off by unscrewing the magazine cap. And obviously this thing was safety checked before I started this, so again, stop it. I know, it's fine. Alright. So, I'm going to bring the action down about halfway. Allows you to remove the barrel completely. Okay. Now this is where it gets kind of intricate. So I want to make sure that you guys can see everything here. I'm going to move this in a little bit. Not too crazy, but if you've never taken down a shotgun, you might be nervous. This, my friends, is not too terrible. Okay. So there is a pin right here. If you can see that. Is that better? Yeah. Pin right there. Not this. That's your carrier. Don't want to push on that. Pin here. Push on that pin, which is really easy. And the pin pops out. Place that wherever you want, as long as you're not going to lose it. Now, here, that pin allows you to take out the trigger assembly. Just like that. Place it on the side. You have your cartridge interrupter. You have your cartridge stop. Put this down a little bit. You have your bolt carrier. Pull this out all the way. Now, take off your fore end. And you lift up the carrier just a little bit. You can slide out the bolt, which comes out. And you notice these things are dirty. You're going to get dirty when you do this. And your carrier, what you do is you squeeze it. Oh, you can see in there. Squeeze it, and it comes right out. And now everything is out, nice and empty. Let's place these items where we're going to clean them and get to cleaning. We go over what we're going to use to clean the weapon. I have Hops number 9 formula. I have Hops gun oil. I have the, what is this? The Otis cleaning system. The patches and the cleaning brush for the barrel. I have a brush. I like to start with the barrel first and then end with the barrel as far as cleaning goes. So I'm going to take my Otis cleaning set. I have the wire brush on. I dip it in the Hops number 9 formula. And then I'm going to slide it through. Get it started. Let's get this to the camera. See that it comes out the barrel. You want to go from the chamber to the end of the barrel, because you want to force everything. You want to force everything out as if it's coming out of the barrel. So you're going to pull. Goes through. I do this about 3 times. Brush kind of loosens everything up in there, and the formula kind of starts to dissolve some of the gunpowder and residue. And I shoot a lot of slugs, so hopefully it's loosening up some of the lead that's in there. It's not a lead dissolver, but it does do a fairly decent job as long as you keep up on the maintenance. And pulling it through. Good. Let's do it one more time. Again, I do a detail cleaning after around 500 rounds. And this is at the 1,000 mark in my estimation, maybe a little bit less, but it's good to do this for the camera. Come on. There we go. Good. Now, I'm going to put that to the side and let all that formula do its thing while I clean the other areas of the gun. Let's see if we can zoom in here. Alright. Oh no, I lost it. Crank a little down. Alright. Okay. So let's start with the trigger housing. And I have a crappy old t-shirt that I cut up. Trigger housing, not much to it. Kind of dip the brush in, and you just kind of loosen up some of that gunk that's been sitting on here. That's all. Just kind of get up in there. Just loosen all up. And then take your rag. You notice that? Get all that crap off of it. Just kind of do the best you can. Getting those nooks and crannies. You can use a Q-tip if you want to, and that's quite alright. I will later on when we get into the actual the base of the weapon. There's some crannies in there, it's kind of hard to get to. So now that's all basically cleaned up. Put this to the side. Bolt carrier. This one's really easy to clean. One big piece of metal. It doesn't have many crannies in it at all, so that's pretty easy. And same thing, just wipe it down. My hands down a little bit. Brush happy right there. Yeah. Alright, put that to the side. Your cartridge stop. Just tends to get a little messy. So easy that is to clean. Yeah, that's nice. Cartridge interrupter. Again, these I've noticed with the 590 compared to the 930 that there's a lot less maintenance you need to do with the pump action guns, only because you're not relying on the gas system to cycle your weapon. You're cycling your weapon manually with your left or right hand, depending on how you shoot. So the things that need to operate it are a lot less complicated and a lot easier to clean. Alright, your bolt. This thing gets pretty nasty. Get up in there. And don't forget in the bottom, man, because that kind of gets messed up too. The face of the weapon, the face of the bolt, those extractors. Get everything nice and clean. Get the back. And pick up a lot of dirt, a lot of particles. Alright. Again, simple. Just wipe. Look how dirty this thing is. Easy to wipe it down. Get all that crap that you loosen up off of it and let the solvent do its work. Nice, clean weapon is a nice, reliable weapon. I'm sure you agree. And I'm just going to do my best to make sure that I've got this thing nice and clean. See some particles in there. That's pretty good. This is a little more challenging to clean just because it's got all those nooks and crannies. Yep, it's pretty clean to me. Back to the side. And your bolt carrier. I mean, not the bolt carrier, your carrier for the shells. this thing gets pretty nasty. Don't forget to get on the inside of it too. Don't cheat it. It needs a good cleaning. Right. That should be good. Oh, look at all that crap on there. So those things get pretty dirty, man. Yeah, you're like, oh, come on, guy. Go to the next thing. Well, we're basically done. We're cleaning the internal components. I just want to make sure this thing is nice and clean, man. Yeah, it's clean. All right, and then you got this little push pin. It really doesn't get dirty at all. I give it a slight cleaning just to make sure it's okay. You don't have to do much with it. That's the basics for cleaning the internal components. Let's get inside that weapon and really give that thing a cleaning. Same thing like we did with the other components. I'm going to dip the brush in the Hops No. 9 formula. I got some Q-tips we're going to use to get in some nooks and crannies in there. And you're just going to get in there. You're going to scrub that thing down. Get that in there. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in this housing area. Just want to make sure you get that Hops No. 9 formula in there. Break up all that crap built up. Alright. Take your handy dandy rag and really get in. Look at that. This thing needed a cleaning. Yeah. You want to make sure that you want to get up all over the place. Looks like it leaked out at a few of the sides. And really get in there. Picked up a lot of crap. I do shoot this thing quite often, especially since being proficient and getting fast with a pump means you got to put more time and hours on the range to get used to the weapon. So this thing has been shot a lot in a very short period of time. I've had this thing for about 2 months and it's seen about 1,000 rounds. So it gives you an idea of how dedicated you have to be, or how I was, on how to make sure I know how to work this weapon. And then I'm gonna get the Q-tip in there. And get all those nooks and crannies you couldn't really get in with the, look at that, look how nasty that is. You couldn't get with the rag. Yeah, I might need more Q-tips. Wow, that's dirty. Look how nasty that is. Yeah, that's dirty. And you keep saying how nasty it is. Yeah, well it is. It needed a cleaning. It certainly did. It's right behind this spot here. There we go. That always kind of can't get into it. Say about 5 Q-tips usually does the trick for me. see what I'm doing. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing in here as far as the nooks and crannies are concerned, but once you get the weapon, you break it down, you're like, ah, I see. I know what he's talking about. I get it now. But again, these detail cleanings don't have to be done for quite a while. And if you don't shoot often, then maybe you do it once a year. If you're someone like me, you're probably doing this detail cleaning probably around, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year, depending on how active you are. Alright, I think as clean as it's going to get. Alright, oil some parts up. Actually, no, we're not done. We are far from done. I have to get into that barrel. And everyone always forgets the forend. And rushing through this, my battery's getting low. But you also want to do the magazine. I like to do the magazine anyway, magazine tube on the outside, because it does have some smoke and some gunpowder get up in there. You don't believe me? Yeah, check this out. Yeah, look dirty enough? Yeah. So don't neglect the magazine tube. It needs a cleaning. Alright, I think now the main housing is done. And your forend, the rods are always coming in contact with gunpowder because they're interacting with the cartridge stop and interrupter on a constant basis. I mean, look at all that crap I just pulled off. Yeah. Let's see if you can see a clean side. It's the bags. Alright, clean side. Not so clean side. So, yeah. These things do need a cleaning. And inside here, you want to get inside there as well. Because, as you saw with the magazine tube, that, you wiped it off, it had a ton of gunk on it, which means there's probably a ton of gunk. I did that off camera, sorry. Ton of gook inside there as well. And you just do your best to get in there. That's not pulling out much gunk. That's a positive. Yeah, so that's actually not bad at all. You're getting something like that, you're doing a pretty decent job. Get that thing as far as you can in there. Actually, that's what I tend to do sometimes. I tend to run a rag through the whole thing. Just take that, kind of run that through. And that'll kind of get all that crap out. Alright, so now that's clean. Let's get on to the barrel. Now the barrel has been basically sitting in its own filth with Hops number 9 formula solvent running through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to switch to the patch method and Otis patch method, which is pretty simple. I prefer it. I think the Otis cleaning method for the barrel is the best because it really gets everything out of the barrel. So what you're going to do is you're going to, as you do with the brush, you're going to slide this through to the end of the barrel. Run your patch through it. And look at all that juicy nastiness that came out of that barrel. You're going to keep doing that for quite a while. Now the thing with the Otis patch is it's good for like 3 runs. Well, actually, well, it says 6, but I'm very comfortable with around 3 to 4 runs through this. And then I switch the patches out. And you just keep doing that really, until it stops becoming out dirty. Which just, it's going to take a while. There's another patch that's run through. So you're going to be doing that for quite a while. So to save video time, I'm going to keep doing that until we have a decent barrel. Alright, I've ran through several patches, you can see. And let's see, I've ran it through 3, 6, 9, 10, 13, 15, 18, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 26 times. And this is the first patches, and then these are the ending patches. Now I've noticed with the odor cleaning system, it uses this stopper to really cause a lot of friction inside the tube. And I've ran literally 10 patches, which is the equivalent of 60 times I've been through the barrel at one point, and I was still pulling crap out. So I just get it to where it's just a little bit of a light vein of dirt, because I think this thing's just going to keep pulling stuff out. It's just how it is. Anybody who's actually used the odor cleaning system and you've actually pulled out a patch that was the same as you put in, which is white, then you have the patience of a saint. Now, the last 3 or 4 patches that I run through, I'm going to put in the gun oil. I'm going to run it a little bit on the patch just to coat the inside of the barrel for protection. And I'm going to actually pick up a lot more dirt because of this, because it's wet. So I picked up some dirt. You can see some dirt was picked up. So I'm going to run it through a couple more times to take out the excess oil. And what I did off camera was I took the brush in here, just on the outside, and that little divot in there, and I wiped out all the gook in there. Wasn't worth showing on camera. It was a quick thing. So I'm going to run the patches through, and then we'll get into the assembly. Alright, before we put this thing together, we got to go over some oil points. The slide, the rods are always coming in constant contact on the inside. So I usually put a drop of oil, rub it in, drop of oil, rub it in, and do that on the other side. Drop of oil, rub it in, drop of oil, rub it in, and then take a clean rag and wipe it down. And that should be enough to keep it nice and lubricated. Your shell carrier. These points here on the outside are going to be rocking in and out, rubbing against metal. So I'd put a drop on the outside, rub it in, and then a drop on the outside. Get on that knob. What about there? That should be enough. And just wipe off the excess. That should be fine. Your bolt, actually set ridge. Get a drop. And I kind of rub it in there. And then it contacts with the slide on the bottom. So I put a drop of oil, and again wipe off the excess. Your slide is going to be constant contact with the bolt, so I put a drop on the little sections, and then the sides as well tends to come in contact and rub, and then wipe off the excess. You just want a thin film of oil. Too much oil and well, you carry a lot of dirt. Dirt gets trapped. There's the shell stopper. That's always touching something and getting rubbed against. Same thing. I just put a drop and then rub one drop over the whole thing. That tends to do its job. So this thing's gotten some weird wear signs on it. Alright. That's basically it. Trigger housing, I don't really put any oil on it. Usually any excess will drip into it, and when I do the CLP, it tends to drip into the trigger housing and lubricate it that way. So that's all there is. Let's put this bad boy together. If you notice inside the action of the weapon, I take a drop, put it on my finger, and right where the rods of the how's it called, the action slide come in contact, I tend to put in the oil and then wipe off any excess. Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with the shell carrier. There's going to be, see these big holes? They're at these notches are going to go into those holes. What you do is you squeeze it, line up the holes, and it goes right in. Just like that. Oh, you can see that. Alright. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. See that? Nice and in. Okay, then you're going to take your bolt and you're going to face it with the notch. See that notch? It's going to go in this way with the bolt extractor, two extractors facing out. You're going to go in. Sorry, a little malfunction with the camera. Alright, so here's the bolt. Slide it on through. So you can see. Lift up the carrier. Now when you first assemble this weapon, you can see that. There we go. When you first assemble this weapon, the bolts may not go in nice and easy like it is here. You see a lot of people sliding the bolt in and it's like butter. You're gonna have to cycle the weapon and fire it probably 400 or 500 times, and then it's gonna go in easy. If you just take it apart to clean all that packing grease that comes with your gun, and you're gonna slide it back in, chances are it's not gonna be as smooth like that. Alright, so now you're gonna take your slide. You're gonna have the notch. See that notch? It's going to face towards the front of the weapon. But before you do that, you got to put on your forend. Sometimes I jump steps. Slide it on. When you get to this part here, you're going to have to push down on the rods to get them into those holes. There you go. And then you're going to have to push down again to get it past a certain point. Which is being difficult. Sometimes it's difficult. Alright, there we go. Alright. This is where it's going to get tough. I'm going to try to get a better angle so you guys can see. How's that? Well, it's the best I can do. Alright. Alright, so now you got your bolt in, your carrier, and your forend action slide. What you're going to do is you're going to take your slide and you're going to place it in, and you're going to try to line up the notches these notches here with the action rods, and then you're gonna have that hook. See that hook here? Right here. That's going to lock in right in these here. There's a big divot in here with the bolt. You're going to get that notch locked in here, and these action rods locked in to these little sections here. It sounds easy, but it takes a little bit of working around to figure it out. I'm going to try to really get a good angle on this, but if I tilt it too much, it might not work. Alright, so you slide your bolt in a little bit. You put your slide rods just a little bit in. You take your slide, and this is where the fun begins. Trying to get these things to line up. There we go. Oh, almost had it. There we go. Alright. Bingo. Alright. What you gotta do is sometimes your slide rods kind of bend in a little bit, so you gotta push them out and make sure they lock in. Now once those action slide rods are kind of in the notches with the slide, you can move the bolt up and down until it locks in. And then that's basically how I do it. I make sure that the action slide rods are in the divots first, and then I move the bolt around, and then that locks in. So you're going to slide that to the back. You're going to take your cartridge interrupter. This is the only piece that actually has a spot to lock in. So a little notch. Take that with the arrow facing down. That locks in. You're going to take your cartridge interrupter, which does not have anywhere where it locks in, and you're going to have that little notch. That's going to face down. That's going in down. And they have their own little spots in here. Now here is the biggest pain in the ass ever when I first put this together, and if somebody explained this to me the first time I put it together, I probably wouldn't have had a hard time. Here is your trigger house. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take, see these notches, you're going to place them this way and rock it in. Now when you face it in and rock it in, you're going to have a slight problem because your cartridge stop might cause the trigger house not to come in. And I don't know if you can see this, but see if I push down, see that piece that comes out? Chances are you're going to be pushing on this end trying to rock it in, and it won't go all the way in because this piece here is sticking out. So when you press on it, and then it won't seat all the way in, and you're like, why the hell isn't it getting in? That's the reason why. So when you seat this thing in, I'm going to push it in, right? I'm going to reach in and make sure that that doesn't come out. Come on. That's tricky. There we go. And then it will go in. Alright, at that point, you kind of just squeeze it in and line up the hole. Take your push pin, make sure it goes in. You just kind of push it in, Make sure it's flush. And that should work. Alright. Kind of move it up about a quarter of the way up. Put on a barrel. Take your barrel. It's the easiest part of the whole process. Line it up. Lock it in. Take your nut. Magazine nut. Screw that in. Alright. That should be in. Hold the action release slide. Does it cycle? Good. Take it off safety. Fire. Good. Safety. Safety works. Good. Excellent. Wipe down the gun. All the excess crap that's all over the place. And that's it. She's all done.